Okay, we are now live to where I don't know, but let me refresh the Facebook group and we'll see.
Well, apart from it saying destinations at the top corner, I guess that's the only thing we've got.
Yeah, but it now says the broadcast ID is emptying, so it was going live whilst I was removing a destination. So
my watch and my phone's got it live. Let's just see if it works. I mean, I've never. Yeah, it's okay.
Well, someone says, hey, so someone's here. I'm trying to pull up the stream myself. My MacBook Pro sounds like it's about to take off the space, which isn't ideal, but yeah, we'll get there.
That long ago, did you really?
No, it's less than a year. Cool, Danny is in the comments. I'm going to pull up the stream myself. Cool. All right, awesome. Can't post comments to some destinations. Maybe it is streaming to YouTube. I don't know. Anyway, if you are watching, we'll get into it now. If you are watching, say hey in the chat. Let us know where you are watching from, and if you do have any questions, do jump in. That quote, "Life you live is the sum of the quality of the questions you ask," something along those lines. So ask some quality questions, guys. All that good stuff. Anyway, I am joined today by Luke Dugan. You can have to decide and vote there. I still don't know which it is after about 3 years, but anyway, do you want to settle the debate on your name? I think me and Thomas always argue over this.
It probably depends where it's from, but I've never really questioned it and never really asked like my family line, why it's like that. But I just know that my grandparents, where that's where that name's from, always called it. Well, they're very posh. They went Dugan. They would say it like that. I say Dugan, but they would say it that kind of like, oh, Dugan, like that.
All right. Well, we're joined by Luke Dugan.
Just took the name that it was there, and because they were a little bit posh, and like a bit more wealthy or something like that, they obviously just decided to say it that way. I don't actually know.
Nice.
But
that's fair enough. What is going on? I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the comments, because I can see Sunny Leeds, which I'm pretty sure Dan's from Leeds, so I'm pretty sure that's him there. But I also can't see that on Facebook in the comments for some reason. So trying to pull it up on my phone, I've ended up just calling someone by accident. So it's all going on at the moment. But whilst I'm trying to get my life under control, do you want to give us a quick introduction, less than 60 seconds, if you can, Mr. Dugan?
I'll try. I'm 33 years old, to even say ages. 33 years old, just turned 33 the other day. I live in Lithuania now, from the UK, but moved here about a year ago, just because I thought if I'm not going to move away and try somewhere else, where it doesn't matter where it is, then I never will probably. So I did that. Been here a year now. Outsourced my online arbitrage / wholesale business. Obviously, I started off just selling secondhand. 5 years or so, 5 and a bit years now, I've been doing it. End of last year, hit 7-figure seller per year. You can probably do it in 10 years if you do a couple of, $100,000 a year. You can make that up. I see it as a year, so I hit that, and last year was great, but I'm sure it was for a lot of people. And I also have the brand and podcast that I'm bringing out with the YouTube and Facebook group and the website, all based around obviously like what Luke, kind of similar to what Luke does, helping people start online business with Amazon. And I also co-host the Elite Sellers Academy with Natalie, which is like a weekly elite training program. It's probably some other things, but I didn't have long to speak, so there we go.
Yeah. No, awesome. I kind of missed half of that, but I think I know it fairly well by now, because I'm trying to get it up on my phone because the comments are showing there. But in doing so, my AirPods then connected to my phone, and end up just having a bit of a mess. So cool. So for those who are just jumping in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Say hey, give us a like and a love heart if you're feeling generous. It does help push us out to more people, so they can jump in and watch as well. And hopefully you get a bit of value from this and a bit of entertainment. So bit of value, bit of entertainment is my goal for you for this evening. If I don't do that, you can have your money back. Besides from that, I'm going to jump in with the first question for Luke, myself. And I'm making these up on the spot. We'll go along with it. So, Luke, I want to know, why do you do what you do? And what I mean by that, to focus on sort of the Amazon side of things. Like, why sell on Amazon? What is it for you that, you know, if you kind of have the option, you can start the business today if you wanted to. So why sell on Amazon?
Well, originally I stumbled across it and didn't. I knew of other things, but I saw it as like a low barrier to entry. So not a massive amount of setup costs. You know, training and learning is relatively free, and you can scale. So you don't, you know, and it's not like you've got to put in 50 grand on day one. So that's why I started it. But the reason that I'm continually doing it is because I could have decided, you know, at some point, right, I'm not doing it because I want to pursue other things. But ultimately, it's like, if, you know, I was talking to you earlier about it, but if I can get to the point where I can 98% outsource, basically, where I'm just on my phone replying to like the big, so some big decisions or something day to day with the VAs, that's the goal that I'm going to probably try to get to by I could probably do it by next month, but I'd rather take things a little slower. So by January is what I've set myself to do. And then it can just pretty much tick over January to, you know, September. And I don't mind getting involved over Q4 because I quite like it. Like, I actually have that buzz. And as long as you have that, I think whatever you're doing is you know, as long as you've got that going on for you, then it's good. But I might go up at some point. So that's how I'm going to do it. And then I can pursue other ventures, other avenues, and, you know, even if it's just fun topics or learning. But I just see, while, you know, once you've done all the hard work up front, you don't, you know, the actual hard work's behind you, and it'd be a shame to sort of shut up shop when you can just keep sort of getting value out of it every month with almost less effort as you push forward. That's how I see it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense now. I feel like I'm in a similar boat whereby I'm kind of ticking over at around 10K gross a month with about 7K net. And with the team of VAs I have, it's sort of 2 to 4 hours work per week. And it's not hugely rewarding. And it's a very strange feeling, because if someone said you're going to be doing that in 3 years' time, well, in 2 years' time, I've kind of been hitting that for like the last year now, you know, I would have looked to them a bit strangely and bit their handoff to do that. But now it's a bit unsatisfying. It's a really strange thing. It's that kind of concept of hedonistic adaptation and kind of reaching new norms. And yeah, I think if you don't have those growth goals, you can kind of become a bit stagnant. So on that, I mean, VAs, you talked about getting fulfillment from doing the work. Like, what's the balance there? What are your thoughts on VAs? Because there's a lot of stuff, and I'm a big advocate of VAs, virtual assistants. Virtual assistants being someone who's sort of based generally in another country that, you know, kind of like low cost of living, can do the same sort of tasks, and yeah, essentially getting their sort of input, labor input into your business, low cost. What's the sort of advantages of VA? What's your thoughts there? Because for me, I've been a big advocate, but at the same time now, I'm like, you know, there's merit in doing that work. It's actually quite rewarding to kind of sit there and do it. And I'm quite introverted. You know, like, if you have that team, you know, managing people is not necessarily for everyone. I think there is something to kind of keeping the business to a certain size and not necessarily keep growing it and scaling it. So yeah, does that make sense? And what are your thoughts there?
Cool. Quickly, first thing I was going to add, I told someone the other day, I was like, oh yeah, I got a team of virtual assistants, and I started saying something else, and he said, oh, how do I get my Siri to do that? Because he thought I basically meant like a virtual assistant app or something. I can't remember what I exactly said, but he obviously was like, how do I get? And then as I explained, he was like, oh, right, no, I understand. But anyway, with VAs, what was the actual question? Just so I don't go off on a tangent for half an hour. You know what I'm like.
Cool. So yeah, for me, the question is sort of on virtual assistants, like, where do you find the balance between that reward of actually doing stuff yourself versus the
You
sort
mean
of advantages.
and letting them get on with it, and where do
Well, you know, like you could go in, let's just say it's product sourcing. You could go and source products, and there's that kind of, you know, you talked about it when you, on your podcast earlier, where you can kind of go in, sit down, and actually go and source yourself, smash out the day, feel a bit of that kind of reward at the end of the day, versus the, you know, the other side of it where you can have a VA that sources for you, but yeah, it's not a magic bullet. They're still human. You've got to work with them. So I'm kind of asking you, like, what are the pros and cons, I suppose, of virtual assistants, and maybe the ones that are kind of less transparent, like maybe the ones that you are feeling on that line of actually not having that work to do now and actually having that almost like space to create.
Well, a couple of things. The first thing, I mentioned this in a session I did the other day. I was thinking, you can do it all yourself, and you can probably do it better at times because you've done it for so long, you know exactly what, like sourcing you're mentioning. I could go on, I could find 30, 40 products in like half a day, or whatever it's, whatever I want to. And the virtual assistants will find products, but maybe they're not going to be as specific to exactly what I'm trying to target, because obviously I know, because I'm the one that thinks what I need. And when I'm referring through details, obviously they might not, they may take longer to do it, for example. So it's like, I was kind of trying to think what the balance was of me spending my time in the business doing it. But then another thing I thought is, like, it's kind of like working paycheck to paycheck is kind of how I saw it. So you could have no VAs, and I could do it all myself and every job is amazing because I'm doing it. I feel like I'm going to get the best results. But if you don't outsource it at some point, even to 30%, 60%, it's almost like you're living a form of paycheck to paycheck. Because the way I described it the other day was, if you look at a year and you look at Q4, you're like, oh, I'm going to do it all myself. I don't want a VA. Because I don't need one. I'm going to spend all my time. You look at your profit at the end of the year, and then it's like, yes, I've made this much money, but I've saved all this and not getting VAs or something. But then you've got to go and do it all over again next time. So it's not, in a way, it's paycheck to paycheck, because you have got to go and just repeat that process. But with VAs, yes, I feel they can for me, it takes a good while to train up to the level I want. So that's a con, because I'm actually having to invest my time up front at the beginning. But I see it as a long-term project. So I don't see it as in a month, I want them to do everything and that's it. I find it as like a nurture them. Just like if you were getting a new job, how long would it take you to get pretty good at the job where you could just not even ask, oh, can you, let's just say 3 to 6 months. Let's just say 6 months just to be, on the safe side. And so I kind of take it a little bit slow like that. And I found it to be, by doing that and slowly introducing tasks, little tasks here and here and here, it's really worked out really great with the VAs I got now, because they started off just as sources. One turned into basically does all my social media and podcasts and YouTube videos. She started off as a sourcer. They said, do you want to scrap the sourcing to jump onto that? Because her CV just kind of said that she was looking into it. And I said, well, if I just drip feed her, anyone can learn it. I did the same with my admin VA, and I'm slowly giving more and more to her. And I just think now, once you get to that point, yeah, I don't see it as you pay them amount of money and it's like, well, what are they doing in that hour? If you broke it down, you'd be like, oh, but I could do that in like 50 minutes. So why am I paying them to do it in an hour or something? Or I could do it in less time. But I think you've just got to do that at some point, because you need to start pursuing other things. Otherwise, in a way, you are working year to year, month to month to make that next profit, because you're basically doing it all yourself. So I find that there are cons. It does take time. Obviously, you've got to pay for that time and invest your energy into it. And all I did after I was sort of doing video recordings for them is I got them to then create their own database of basically database of videos of almost like a training program for themselves, so that everyone that was doing any task would just upload it into Google Drive into different folders, and I could get the other VAs to kind of go in and check, and if they needed a recap or something, they could do it, and kind of building up their own database. So if someone left, I don't have to go and then invest all that energy again. So yeah, right at the beginning there was But now I feel like long term it won't be. And then obviously you can pursue other avenues. Maybe it's different businesses, maybe it's more time for the family. And then maybe you do want to come back and assess things later on. But I find that there's more pros than there is cons, even though obviously you've got to go from 0 to like whatever you're paying them per month. Hopefully I answered all your questions there anyway.
Yeah, it's not, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It's one of those, and I think it just comes down to personal preference and to people's self-awareness. I think the one thing I'd say to anyone is to just, anything they are reading or consuming, any content they're consuming essentially online, is to put their own lens over it and think about what is right for them and not just sort of take everything as gospel essentially. But yeah, just a quick one. Zebo and Thomas Parkinson, hey to you both in the chat there. If you are watching, let us know where from. And if you do have any questions, please do let us know. Yes, we're kind of just going on a bit of a free flow here even. If there is anything, please do jump in. One thing I wanted to follow on from there, Luke, you sort of mentioned that, yeah, that could allow you to go into another business, other areas for the family. So, you've got a pretty successful Amazon business now. You freeing up that time, as you mentioned, and you can probably outsource it, have a lot of it outsourced in the next month. So where do you see yourself in sort of 6 months? Like, what are you doing? What's around you? What does your standard day look like? Is that something you thought about?
You think? You mean like, as in like not just looking at, okay, I'll just stop. So let's say by January, because that's the kind of target I've set. Obviously, I see that as like the reset month for the fresh year. So, I normally look at my yearly goal, and if I've got many, or just don't really have that often, but if I've got anything, I'll always do it then, or around Christmas, just after. So I think by then I want to have pretty much 95% of the business outsourced, to the point where I'm receiving like a daily report in the morning and maybe some sort of report in the evening, and then anything that's kind of like more of a decision-making stage, I don't mind taking care of, because I get them now and then anyway, like these days, so I know what they are, and I'm happy to quickly reply to messages basically. So that's not a lot of time, and then focus on other areas. Like I'm building the podcast up. Obviously, I would like to focus more energy on doing that so that I can get more episodes released, because obviously it's, I want to try to get like a weekly episode released by, so I'm going to do it every 2 weeks to start, and then I'm going to try to ramp it up as I progress. But I would like to spend more time focusing on other things, such as like 2 hours of reading every day, and just things that are, people might go, obviously there's normally value in them, but people might be like, well, what are you reading? Ultimately, it's not going to be a story. It'll be more like a business style, maybe autobiographies, whatever it ends up being, but more about like mindset. It could be about positivity. It could be about anything that's sort of gonna give me some skills or some wisdom, words of advice, whatever you want to say, for the future. Because in a way, the way that I never used to look at it, but I do now, is like I always think, well, what will me in 5 years want? Because I used to like be like, oh, I just live for now and I'll do whatever. But then when I get there, I'm like, oh, why didn't I think of that before? But now I'm a little bit older. I'm thinking I could just do the day-to-day stuff, but me in 5 years doesn't want to just be the same in 5 years. I want to be an evolved version. So I want to start doing 2 hours of reading every day. I want to start doing maybe 3 or 4 tennis sessions every week. And I want to start doing like piano, as in just it might not last forever. I don't know how long it lasts, but it's just to give me that kind of creative mindset for other things. And then I might do that for 6 months and go, okay, right, next challenge. I've had like that reset, while obviously still pursuing all the stuff I do with the brand side, the podcast. I'll still do videos, I'll still do Elite Sales Academy and all that kind of thing. But that doesn't take it doesn't take up as much as sort of doing the day-to-day Amazon stuff. And then I feel once I've got that, almost like if you didn't have to work a job at all, then like what your brain and your creativity will will release, because obviously most people are, they go to, like, it's always like, oh, I've got to work. There's always that kind of like work thought going through their mind at some point, and it doesn't let their brain kind of fully release and be free to think for like, okay, well, imagine you never had to work again, everything was free and you can do whatever. What would you do, and what would you pursue? And that's the kind of place I want to get to, where I'm able to open that side of me up a bit more. And by not being as involved with the Amazon business, that will allow that.
Cool. And I know you are based in Lithuania. Do you still see yourself there come, say, January?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, we got a new dog, so I'd have to put him in a backpack otherwise. You can. He is very tiny, so you can actually fly with him, and like which I never knew, with your hand luggage apparently. Somehow, some airlines, but yeah, I don't see myself. Definitely. I got a 5-year visa here, so like at least I've got that like breathing space, where I don't. If it was only like a year, obviously there'd be more like unknowns to what I was doing, and that would be by the end of this year, because I got it at the beginning of this year. But because I have that, I'm like, while I like it here, I love like exploring the country, going to cool places. Like they have a lot of diversity here in terms of like it feels like different culture almost in different places, and I like in different areas, and they're not that far away, so I'm quite enjoying that. And the summers are really nice here and hot, even hotter than the UK. And so I'm quite enjoying it here. For now, while things are going well. Obviously things have changed, but I don't see anything changing definitely by January. Doesn't mean it won't, but yeah.
No, it's interesting for me, and I think the next thing is like, okay, well, how does that compare? I think you said you've nearly been in Lithuania for a year now. Was your sort of intention going there for it to be like a couple of months? Was it sort of to be a long-term stay? Did you want to sort of travel to a few countries?
I basically just wanted to. I was going to come to the end of the year. I think I paid it for a bit less. I think I paid for 3 months, but that was relatively the same thing. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go and see, and I'll come home otherwise, or whatever. And what did I do? So I came in August. It was so I had a bit of a mix. I had some summer and I had winter. So I got a feel for like both kind of climates. And and the summer was great and lovely, and the winter was very cold, but it snows quite nice. So it's quite nice in terms of it's not raining as much as it is cold and snowing, which is, I prefer that than it rain. So I quite enjoyed that, and I didn't really go with any plans. I literally just took it week to week, day to day, and just kind of looked where it led me. And then I happened to look, how do I stay? And I didn't think I could at one time. I was like, I can stay for a bit, but I can't stay for more than 3 months because it's Europe. And then I literally just did a little bit of sort of research, and a guy said to me, "Oh, I can get you a visa for €500." I was like, I was like, right. I was like, how? Because I looked, and it was like start a business and put in some deposit €28,000, and it was stuff like this. And he was like, yeah, I can do it. And actually, some magical, I don't know what he did, but he did it all, and he got me the. I was just, even going to collect it, I was like, I'm not going to get it. Like even though it said, congratulations, you have received a 5-year. I was just like, how was it like? How was he? He was like, yeah, just pay €500, and I'll sort it out. And he did, and I got it. I was like, well, okay, if that's not going to be like a bit of a sign or something, then for at least to stay here for a little while longer. Because it's more just to give, again, give me the option. Of course, even though it's a 5-year visa, I can still go away and come back. It's not that, it's not like I have to stay here. But for now, I like it here. I've met some really cool people, starting to make some friends and everything. Because obviously with lockdown, that was for a good while last year. End last year and this year, it was obviously impossible. So I do feel like I'm sort of picking up a bit. Even though I have been here a while, obviously there was a period where nothing really happened. So I'm still kind of experiencing things that I missed out on then.
Yep. No, cool. No, very interesting. Just even for myself, because on the sort of travel front, I do find it interesting. I think I've seen it, a lot of people who say they want to travel and then sort of get to the stage where they can and they don't. And to me, it's very interesting because it's this kind of thing in society where, you know, the sort of 4-hour work week, travel different places is very glamorized, I think. And there's definitely pros to it, and it's something that I find interesting, but it's not like this kind of holy grail, I don't think. And it really depends on the kind of person you are. I mean, when I first arrived in Mexico back in February of this year, it was probably the loneliest I've ever felt in my life. Like previous times I've had, even if I didn't know the person, I've had sort of someone or people there that kind of waiting for me. Like when I've been to Australia and he was going to play for a cricket team. When I went to the Canary Islands, I lived with Thomas Parkinson for a month first. And for me, it's just really interesting because it's one of those things that social media paints as very glamorized. And there are lots of awesome things to it. I'm not trying to put anyone off. But I think, as I kind of mentioned before, it's really looking through a lens of what do you want. And I'd say, like, if you want to go and travel to a place, kind of like, why? Like, why do you want to do that? But yeah, it seems like you're having a great time.
Yeah, I found that as well, actually. It was like I came here, got all set up, and then I was like, I knew one person. So at least I knew one person, which is like 100% more than zero, well, whatever it is. But it was still like after about a week or two, kind of just, exploring a bit of the city and getting familiar with things, and even just like what food is what, just things that you just don't really know. I was like, well, I'm here now, but what am I going to do? Just not speak to anyone? Like, I'm not going to. And it did take me a little while because you have to kind of force yourself to like do stuff. Even I've been on Facebook groups that are like foreigners in Congress and foreigners in Lithuania, foreigners in Vilnius, and like I'm trying to even now I'm still trying to like continue being engaging. And yeah, I might not meet up with every single person that I speak to, but it's like I just if it happens, I'm trying to put myself out there more than just kind of being like, oh, no, it's fine. I've got one friend, and I think I feel that you have to kind of put yourself out there a little bit more, even if it's outside your comfort zone, because otherwise you're going to be basically lonely for however long you're there for. And some of the great, like the real good experiences are when you actually do stuff with people that you meet, rather than just getting on a train and going to here and just walking around, seeing. There's only so much you can. I feel like you can experience just doing it like that, and so sometimes you do have to do it in other ways that you don't know because you're not from that country. That gives you like a different perspective of things. So I feel like when I came here, I met my girlfriend, and she basically was like, "Yeah, do you want to go here? Do you want to go here?" And I was like, "No idea. Never. What is this place like?" And like I probably would have figured it out eventually, but some of the places obviously I would never have go to because I wouldn't like there. It just little on the way. It's like, oh, this is an old little. Like I would never go there in a million years because I wouldn't even know it's there. A little tiny place, but we go there and it's like all these little things that you wouldn't be able to do yourself. I feel is important as well.
For sure. I think having local knowledge when you are traveling anyway is huge. That's what I've found. Awesome. For those who have sort of jumped in since the start, do let us know where you're tuning in from. If you can or give a love heart, that's awesome. Push it out to more people. Trying to get you a bit of value here. So if you do want to ask any questions, please do feel free. One next question I sort of have for you, next question I do have for you is, in your entrepreneurial journey, what has been the lowest low and the highest high? So people kind of say the entrepreneur has a bit of a roller coaster ride. For you, what's been the lowest low and the highest high?
I know the highest high was when I kind of smashed my goals last Q4 and did like 500,000 in Q4, and I was like, I thought, well, like if I I can't remember what I set myself, if I could have at least doubled it or tripled it or something, I don't know what it was. And I thought, and it gave me that confidence boost of like, okay, I can do it, because it doesn't matter how much you actually do like succeed. You always think the next step is like, oh, maybe I'm not capable, or I'm not, I'm not good enough. Like, everyone has this. Doesn't matter how good you are. Even millionaires probably go, oh, I'm not good enough to be a billionaire. Everyone has those thoughts as you look up further on the ladder, if you want to call it a ladder. And sometimes I doubt myself. I would do well, I'd do everything, and then you might have a couple of blip months, or stuff doesn't work. I don't know, just things don't work. It doesn't go straight line, and then maybe you doubt yourself a little bit. And so that was my high, because it was like I knew what I was doing. So it was like, obviously it wasn't just what I was doing. It was like many different factors coming together, which then obviously gave me the results. And I was like, you know what, the way that I was doing it is the right way. But loads of things came together to then make it even better than I even could have hoped. But the lowest of the lows, probably, I don't think I've had like a crazy lowest of the low, like where I've been like super depressed or anything. But I do know that after my very first full year on Amazon, and I made decent profits in Q4 or something, it wasn't crazy. It was like 15 grand or 12, something around that, like for 3 months that was. And I was like, I've never had like a bonus before, if you want to call it that, like a 6-8 grand bonus or whatever, just take out a bit of salary. And I was just like, oh my God, yeah, and then the next year, come January, obviously the sales went down, as they all do, and things just reset. And I kind of was like struggling to like because I'd done so well, because that was my first proper Q4. I was like, because I'd done so well, then I was like, doing 5 or 6 grand or 10 grand sales, I was like, I kind of didn't really have, like, my brain just started to go, that's not that much anyway, and so it wasn't really working hard, and I basically just ticked over. I didn't really work that hard at all. I mean, like 4 hours a day. Sometimes I'd have days off, because I was just like kind of like a bit lost. But I was like, well, if it's not going to be like that all the time, then what's the point? And I ticked on like that for a big 6 months, and then I slowly picked myself back up for Q4, and then obviously I had exactly the same Q4 as I did the previous, almost mirrored. But because I hadn't beaten, and there was no goals achieved, there was basically just like a stagnant year where nothing actually happened, no movement. That was a massive fail for me. Even though I made the same profit as the year before in that period, and probably the year, I still found it as like a huge wasted year, where I was like, for God's sake, dude, like if you would actually just like start in January and just chipped away, you could have doubled that, and then you could have doubled it next year, and so on and so on. Just like hitting your targets. And I felt like I just wasted a year, because I was kind of a bit like, well, what? So by not having a goal, ultimately, at least something, doesn't matter how vague the goal was, I didn't know what to aim for next. And so I wasted that year. That's ultimately where it kind of, all that kind of came together. And that was like the biggest kind of like down part, because when I halfway through the year, I kind of got to the point where I realized, I was like, wow, by the time I pick myself up, it's going to be Christmas, and I felt like I always used to think, where could I have been now if I just didn't waste that year? And you could obviously, it's never going to go perfectly, but that was like, I just felt like I needed something there to help me, and I kind of let myself just sort of fall into this hole a little bit. And so that, which is not, of course, that's not a crazy low. You don't, by doing the same as the previous year. But ever since then, I've realized, don't do that. And I've always improved year to year to year, which I find is now like, how many years do you waste in your life is kind of how I saw it. If you waste 5, 6, 7 times, or 7 years, it's like, do you really want to waste that? You can do it once to learn your lesson, but don't keep doing it. And so since then, I now know not to waste a year, because it comes around real quick, and then you look back and go, I could have done so much more, and I don't want to have that again.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I think the way I kind of hear that is, to me, you had a desire to grow, and then you didn't necessarily align the actions with that, and so you had a gap between what you were doing and what you sort of wanted to do. So you felt that kind of that kind of unfulfilling feeling, like you should be doing for that nagging sort of feeling, coming back on that. And I think that's why it sounds like it feels wasted. To me, it's interesting because, some people, not some people, I think it's very different if you kind of have that intention of, oh, I've done a great Q4, I'm just going to kind of take along at a few hours a week for the next 6 months, and then I'm going to smash it. That can actually be super fulfilling to someone because they've actually intentionally set out to do that. So I think it's really what I sort of took away from that. And I think what it sounds like, and you can sort of add your comments to this, but it's like you've wanted to do more, but you haven't for whatever reason. Sounds like you didn't set goals maybe. And so you've had that gap between what you want to do and what you've actually do, which has really sort of left you with that feeling of, fuck, I've wasted that year. Is that right?
Yeah, because there's one story that I keep telling everything. That you've probably heard this. You probably forgot, but you remember it probably when I said. So my grandma or my nan, when I started Amazon, I basically said I'm going to make 10 grand in a month. Is what I said, and or something like that. I think I actually said I'm going to do 10 grand in sales, which is everyone knows that's irrelevant, but you didn't know that. And then she just turned around to me and goes, "No, you're not, Luke." But like really like patronizing. Like my nan, she loves me. She takes me every year. We said, she like I see her all the time, and the way that her response was like, and I was like, hell no, like it was just like a bomb went off. But then when I hit that, and then I was making that in a month over a few, in December or something. Like I basically didn't have that fuel in it. Like so I didn't have that like goal, but then I guess you could call it the fuel to kind of like. I didn't have that number. I guess it could be anything. It could be anything. But then I didn't have the fuel by her response, and I didn't then know where to go. I was like, well, I don't know. I was lost. And yeah, just even if it was like maybe networking better or like talking to other people, like like-minded people, maybe I needed to do that better, or maybe I just needed to keep it simple and to say, what, this year I'm going to double, or I'm going to put 50% on, just something really simple, but at least it's an improvement goal rather than I have no idea. And then all I really did, I just played like Fortnite for like 2-3 hours a day. They maybe like the basics on Amazon, ordered a couple bits here and there, and some people can say, oh, I would love to do like cardio anymore, but because it wasn't like I was like, I'm going to do that. And therefore I was like, right, every afternoon from 12, I'm playing games and mucking around. I kind of was just like doing it and like,
I think that's huge.
Not really anything going on in the head like as such. So there's no like enjoyment on any of it, through any of it. But now I know, well, not now, but that was years ago now. But after that, I the way that I always do things as well is I always do the worst or something bad, and then I kind of learn from it. So I make a mistake, I spend money trying to change something, and actually it doesn't even work. So I've spent money trying to improve it, and it's got worse because it cost me more money than instead of it saving me money, it's cost me more money. But then now I know that, and then I won't go and do that again, and I'll just jig it again. And then when I jig it again, that's usually better than how it was before any of that, and I just chip. So I go back forward, and that seems to be how I do a lot of things, because ultimately it just seems to be the process that I find that I'm happy to do as well. Like I'm happy to, like I trust in myself to know I'm going to probably I'd say I outsource something else or change something, cost me some money up front, cost me whatever. Doesn't work. I don't really mind that I've lost the money, because I now know that I can improve things from today and save my money going forward, save myself money in a different way through a different method going forward. So I'm happy to do that. And it seems to, that's what I've done mostly over the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, and I think sort of just coming back a little bit, you kind of talked about it there. If your intention, from what I understood, like if you had the intention of, you're going to work till 12 and then play games, you're probably going to feel super fulfilled because that's what you've chosen to do and you've sort of executed on it. I think the real the real kind of that feeling, I don't know how to describe it, that kind of feeling of dissatisfaction at the end of the day or the month, whatever, where you kind of feel like you're getting nowhere. I think that really stems from not having that intrinsic motivation to strive for more and then have your actions align with that. So, you know, if you're kind of expecting yourself to keep working hard, but you don't have that intrinsic motivation and you kind of just fumble through the day, that's where that dissatisfaction comes from. And, you know, Dan's just commented there. That's what he's struggled with recently, not having set goals. He's focused so much on the private label and moved away from OA and wholesale. Feels like he's starting back at day one sourcing again, even though the private label product's success still feels like not achieving in the business. And for me, there's kind of a couple things there that I'd say, and well, I did have a couple. I can think of at least one now. I think, yeah, there's two things. So one, as I mentioned to you in the post, Dan, I think having someone like an accountability type partner or a mentor or someone at like a similar business level to you, ideally doing similar things that gets you is massive. Having that person who you can have very honest discussions with and can kind of both give each other a bit of a kick up the arse is huge. So, you know, you talked about that, Luke, there. If you had someone, potentially you did, I don't know, but someone who you could have sort of talked to during that stage who's really going to kind of ask you these sort of questions of, you know, like, well, why are you doing what you're doing, and like what are your goals, and you know, like kind of really helping. I think the big thing is not necessarily them, but when you talk about these things yourself, you kind of get the answers. It's a bit like the journaling process, which I find very helpful. The second thing for me, and I talked to you about this earlier, Luke, is like that bit of like a gratitude process, I guess. So it stems from having like a vision and then longer term goals, breaking those down into like yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily goals. And then in those periods, sort of reflecting on them. So if you've got those daily goals, having like 3 key things and sort of boxing them off as they're done. So I mean, like I've kind of got it here at the sort of top there, elements, and where I'll sort of tick those off. They're like my kind of goals for the day, and I can reflect on it at the end of the day and go, yeah, this is the progress that I've made. And I think a lot of people spend so long analyzing where they are now compared to where they want to get to. And that goal, that vision, is something that's either unattainable, really. It's like that kind of big stretch goal, which is a good thing. It helps you focus. But at the same time, if you're looking at where you are and comparing it to that goal, or if you even have like, say, your goal in Amazon is to hit 10K sales per month, like you did, and then it's to hit like 500K in Q4. If that just keeps increasing and you're always looking to the next thing, you're never going to feel fulfilled, because you have to look back and appreciate that success that you have had. So yeah, look, there's a lot more to that, but hopefully that kind of helps you there, Dan. And I don't know what your thoughts are, if that resonates with you, Luke.
Yeah, like, so what did Dan actually say, just so I can see? So he moved to private label. So did he move away from OA and wholesale and then back to private label?
Yeah, this is what he sort of put there. Just while you're sort of reading that, Lloyd sort of put link to this, question highest highs and lowest lows, sort of idea of where could I have been if, and his biggest regret is not pushing harder from the start there.
The point I've got is, I think if you, so I think we mentioned this before earlier, if you look at where you are now and you compare it to like a year ago, you might go, okay, where was I a year ago? You know, what was going on? I thought to myself, what was I doing a year ago? Or where was I? Well, like, beginning of last year, whatever time frame you want. And it's like, if I said to myself then, you're going to be doing this, you'll be, I'll be abroad, I'll be doing this, I'll have 3 virtual assistants, I'll be, whatever it's, all the things. And then that person will probably be like, are you kidding me? That sounds amazing. But now that I'm here, I'm like, I feel like I should be doing, so almost the answer is looking in the past at but obviously you've got to, and so that you were talking about having some sort of journal, that could be a good way of doing that, because you actually can look back and get a feel for where you were, because it's very easy to get caught up in everything and forget what was going on then. And it's only when you really sit there and have a think, like, what was I doing then? And you go, well, actually, I was doing my own prep like last July, and I was doing this, and it's like, actually, like, yeah, I've done loads of things, but I feel like if I think of it just generally, for this year or for the last 3 months, I might be like, oh, I haven't done anything. I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. But actually, a little bit more broader, I have. And so I think if I'm, maybe that's something I'll look at in the future. This time next year, I'll say, or maybe actually, that might be a cool thing to do. Just like every month, or when I do like my profit and loss and all that kind of thing, just to add something to that report, which is basically like my summary, and I can just reflect on it either every month or whenever I want to come back to it and reflect on it, and so I can get like a clarification of where was I and what was I planning to do. I might do that actually. Too cool.
100%. I mean, I do a values determination by John DeMartini, and I update that quarterly, and each time I sort of summarize where's the business at that point, and where's my life at that point, and that's a great way to sort of reflect on it there. Just anything, like even I do it in multiple ways. I have a diary which is more sort of just personal random stuff, and I love reflecting on that. I think it's really powerful to reflect back on it. But look, looping this back, this group is mainly for Amazon sellers at the moment. There is sort of an opportunity for anyone watching to implement some of this, essentially. We talked about accountability there. We've talked about goal setting and building out a plan. That is something we offer as part of our sort of strategy calls that we do. They are free. Ultimately, we want to help you to add value to build out a plan, help you with your goal setting. And then from there is a paid training on the back if that's of value to you. But if not, you can take that plan and go implement that yourself. Or if you decide that, fuck this, I've realized Amazon isn't for me, well, great as well, because you probably save yourself a lot of pain there. So if that is of interest to you, I will drop that in the comments. I believe I have tried to do that, but if not, I'll drop it on Facebook. Anyway, there was a question that we've sort of jumped over there whilst discussing a strain there. We've got about 10 minutes left, unless there's any questions I want to drop, but I'll pull this up.
Yeah.
And Callum has asked, what are both your goals for Q4 this year? Not just in terms of revenue, but what do you want to achieve in your business in the busy period? So do you want to start off there, Luke, to summarize your goals?
I enjoy getting involved in Q4. So in terms of not be like doing some great turnover and profit without doing any work or something, that could be someone's goal. But actually, I quite like that's the one time I do enjoy it more than any of it, for 2 months or whatever. But I mean, revenue is revenue, isn't it? But I roughly know my margins, and they usually they might come down slightly as you scale, but relatively the same. I wanted to hit 2 million by the end of the year, but I was like, you know what? Why not try for $1 million this Q4? That's my kind of underlying goal. Again, I don't really necessarily care if I hit it, because that's a lot for anyone in a year anyway. But I thought that'd just be a cool little challenge to set myself as behind the scenes to do just while I am fully engaged with it, because I love it. I'm like, well, why not double down? One, I love it. I love doing it. And then obviously try to smash my goal, just to sort of give myself that, almost like I'm having a competition with myself. And then obviously while I'm doing that behind the scenes, I want to get to the position where I'm basically ready to hand the reins over to my virtual assistants in a little bit more complete, in a more complete package to them, because they're kind of only really doing 65, sometimes 75%, and I really want to get that down to 95% come January, but obviously that's pretty much at the end of Q4. So that'll also be getting finalized for me, so that next year I can basically just have that. So just wake up in the morning, check 1 or 2 things, and then I can go, okay, well, it's now 9:30, 9:20. I'm ready to go. What's the plans? And I can and I have a clear mind. That's then the final clear mind, as in I can now tackle or take on whatever I want to do for the rest of the day.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm assuming here you're referring, Callum, just to my sort of online arbitrage business. So for a bit of context, I've got a business that's 100% online arbitrage, no sort of wholesale, no retail arbitrage, no private label, not because I've got any issues with any of those models, purely just because I focus on online arbitrage and I'm happy with the results I'm getting. The rest of my time in business is spent even on developing the iGen entrepreneur brand. But I'm assuming you're asking about the online arbitrage business. So for the online arbitrage business, as I touched on around the start, it pretty much ticks over by itself. Got a team of around 6 virtual assistants. Really, the reason why I say around 6 is some do work in iGen Entrepreneur as well as the OA business. And we're generating around 10K gross profit, around 7K net a month on average. For me, I'd love to hit 1 million revenue in 12 months. I haven't done that yet. I believe we're about 800K in the past 12 months. And I know it's purely a vanity thing, but when I was thinking about this actually, and I'd love to hit 1 million in a year. So that would be to get the revenue up in Q4 to allow me to make that a reality. Besides from that, the other goal which we'll sort of set will be to pretty much work with the VAs here to sort of support them. Like, I don't do any more work in Q4. I don't suddenly start, kind of helping with repricing, purchasing, anything like that. So for me, it'll be sitting down with my sort of general manager, who you kind of call him a purchasing manager, but he does more now. So general manager of the business, and sitting down with him and setting a goal. Last year, our goal was 150K revenue in a 30-day window from November 23rd to December 23rd. We ended up hitting 149,500. I really think you kind of almost sort of hit what you genuinely believe you can hit. I don't think the VAs could actually hit that. But it's interesting that they went and pretty much did exactly. So for me, I'll be sitting down with the purchasing manager and pretty much setting a goal. Yes, that was revenue, but we focus on sort of profit. We assume we're not, we're going to get the same sort of margins there. So to summarize, 1 million in revenue over a 12-month period, hopefully hit by the end of Q4. And then for me to carry on doing what I'm doing, which is next to no input in the business, and to then assist my team in whatever they need, which probably won't be much else, in actually achieving some sort of goal set. The only other thing would be that I would love to go and visit my team in the Philippines. I had plans, but COVID struck. I am hoping to get back to Australia probably in January, potentially just after Christmas. So, that might fall in Q4. So if that is, that'll be a goal for me personally, to host some sort of event in the Philippines for my team, and really, give them what they deserve there. Lastly, would just be to, I guess, reward them more so. Sorry, I'm thinking of more things like as I'm going, but these are kind of ongoing things. But really for me, I don't speak to my team, my VAs, huge amounts because they're very good at what they do now. But I'd love to have be able to influence their life a bit more. We're waiting on our sort of official sort of accounts to be returned for the Amazon business, and from there I'd love to give them a really, I hope they're not watching this surprise, I'd love to give them a pretty big, relative for them, bonus that's going to have a big impact for them. So I'd love to be able to do that. So those are my sort of thoughts there. Probably not as interesting as you'd like, Callum, but hopefully that helps. So anything you wanted to add there, so Luke, as we begin to wrap it up?
No, I mean, I would like to go and visit them as well, actually. I think it would just be fun.
Awesome.
I find that I'll enjoy it as well. So it's not, I'm not just doing it for them. I'll actually, it's an excuse to go to the Philippines, and it will be fun. It would be nice to meet them, obviously, and it would just be a fun, different experience, than it would be just going, I don't know, on another holiday. Because in a way it would be like a little holiday, but you'd just be adding a little extra to it. And with the reward side of things we talk about, I like to do similar, but I like to do it more ad hoc. So when they've done some, a real good piece of work, or just things now and then that are like, wow, you've done that already, or you've done that, and that's a great piece. Once they've kind of done, like, obviously I won't do it after everything, but if they've done exceptionally well, or they've sort of done so many more things than they expected, like I just gave them a light overview and they've done all this extra stuff, then I'll pay them extra little bits of bonuses here and there.
Yes.
I just think that's nice to show that you're, obviously they still get their 13 month 13, they call it, bonus.
Yeah, 13th month pay.
But yeah, also I like to just do little things like that. Because I sometimes find like paying out a little amount, here and there, is actually a lot easier for cash flow, and you don't notice it really on the balance. So I kind of prefer the kind of little and often approach than I do. But there's no right.
Awesome. Well, look, for anyone who does want to take up the opportunity, as I sort of briefly mentioned there, we do have free sort of consultation strategy calls. Look, there is a paid offer at the end of it. You will be qualified. Not everyone jumps onto these calls, but it is a great opportunity. What's in it for you? You're going to get a bit of a sort of review of your sort of business, build out a plan, which you can go implement yourself if you want. You can jump in and implement with us. I'll drop a link to that in the comments. But yeah, even if you don't jump in, it's good for us because really, we're trying to build relationships here, and we've had a lot of people also who refer others to this. Besides from that, I'd just like to thank Luke for jumping on here. It's been a while, I think, for the last time. Well, yeah, it's been a while since I had him on. So yeah, thank you very much, Luke, for jumping on here.
It's been fun. No, it's good to. Yeah, it's better. It's nice to speak to not new people, but like people that you don't speak to so often, because you get used to it when you just sort of chat between the same couple of people or whatever. So it's nice just to branch out and kind of get a bit of refreshness. Is that even really a word? But okay.
Awesome. Well, look, thanks everyone for jumping in. I hope that was entertaining, and I hope you got something of value. Those were my goals for you. I've enjoyed having a bit of a chat. I don't do a lot of these now. Lloyd, who is awesome, does most of these, but yeah, it was great to be able to jump in and do this. So cheers, guys. I've got to shoot. Time for me to receive some coaching. Exciting times. Have a great evening, or not necessarily evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, everyone. Bye.